They're enjoying the moment. Like my 5-year-old told me last night or yesterday we were at Costco and she says, mommy, if you should post this on YouTube because you can make a lot of money. Like, who have you been talking to?
What we do.
Girl, you's a boss mom. Baby girl, you so perfect. Girl, you's a boss mom. Making everything worth it. Girl, you's a boss mom. Stand on all of your business. And when it come to investments, and baby girl, you the realest. Girl, you's a boss mom.
Never
Baby girl, you so perfect. Girl, you's a boss mom. Making everything worth it. Girl, you's a boss mom. Stand on all of your business. And when it come to investments, and baby girl, you the realest.
What's up, guys? It is Tammy Capri here again, and we are back in the huddle, the Boss Mom Huddle that is. Now, if you are new to this platform, well, it is a new platform, but if you're new and if this is your first episode, the Boss Mom Huddle is a community for moms building brands while raising their babies. And today we have a very, very special guest, and like I always say, all of my guests are special, but I'm here today with Miss Lakeisha Wiggins of Living with the Wiggins on Instagram. How are you, Lakeisha?
I am wonderful.
What's going on with you?
I'm so happy
Looking
to
all
be
cute.
here. Thank you. Thank you.
That red is popping, though. I wanted to tell you that
Thank
earlier.
you.
That red is popping.
Thank you.
Everything is flowing.
It's my Fenty.
Yes, Fenty. I love Fenty. I recently got their foundation, and I fell in love, so I'm hooked.
I'm gonna have to try their foundation. I'm a fan of their color. This this don't come off.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. She did the thing. Rihanna, you did the thing.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about Living with the Wiggins. What's going on your side of the world?
Living with the Wiggins. So living with the Wiggins, honestly, was just born out of something that I didn't even intentionally try to create, right? Living with the Wiggins is a story about a woman who started over at 40 in love and in life.
Okay.
You know, I met my husband at 38.
Okay.
And we got married like right the same year I turned 40. And I also...
So that was what? That was 2 years, almost 2 years after knowing him.
Yeah, and honestly, let's see, we met at the end of 2016, and we got married in 2018. So yeah, we didn't really start dating till like 2017 because I was like friend zoning him at first.
Girl, you got to.
But then he was just like such a light in my life, and I had to take him out the friend zone and promote him.
Lock him down. So it didn't take long at all.
It didn't take long
for you to find your love story.
Old, well. I dated for 8 years after my divorce.
Oh.
So I wouldn't say it didn't take long.
Okay.
It's
well,
just,
with
it's
him.
Your frame of reference. Yes,
it don't take long. That's what I mean. Once you find your Prince Charming.
Because once you know what you want, you get to the age where you know what you want, right? And so we started over. We blended our families. He was also a divorced man, and so we blended our families. We came into the relationship. He had 3 daughters, and I had 1 daughter who was 8, 10 at the time, and then we also had 2 more.
Okay, listen, got right to it. So in total, what do you have?
So in total we have 6 daughters.
6 daughters,
ranging from like 30 on down to 3 years old. So I started talking about my journey, starting over and the whole co-parenting.
Yeah.
I have a great co-parenting relationship with my daughter's father. And so I talk about that a lot. And starting over in terms of my career because the pandemic forced me to pivot, essentially. When in the middle of the pandemic, I was pregnant. I was about to give birth to my last daughter. She was due in June 2020. And I was an event manager. And well, as you know, the pandemic, events came to an end, right? So when that happened, I still had my job, but they ended up eliminating that position because they didn't have any events to put on. But they gave me another position, but it was not something that I would ever apply for. You know what I mean? It was an administrative role.
Okay.
So I went
it
from
was
being
a whole different.
Yes, I went from being essentially an event manager to managing course portfolios, which was totally different because events are dynamic and they have a lot of moving parts.
It was
they're very
you
interesting.
can express yourself and you enjoy doing that. So it is a big change when you're forced to have to do something versus what you wanted.
Absolutely. Because the next position, it was largely administrative. And so I didn't apply for an admin job. Like I was going crazy. And so in the midst of that, my husband, who is actually a carpenter by trade, he wanted to flip a house. And I was like, okay, well, I do have a real estate license, So
you already had your license at the time?
I had my license since 2007.
Go ahead, girl.
So I got my license during my first marriage.
Okay.
And when my marriage ended, I I threw my license out with my marriage. I was like, that's my
Start
whole life.
over, like,
I'm
that's
done
the
with
old
that,
one,
you
right.
know? And so, but I always kept my courses, my CE courses up to date.
Okay.
So that, because I'm
any given
like,
time, if
I'm
you
like a
wanted to
hustler
jump
on
in.
the
There you
inside. So
go.
I always like to have a little backup
There you
plan.
go.
So I kept my license, although it was inactive, I kept my coursework current so that I could always, have my license if I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So when this opportunity sort of presented itself for me to kind of change gears, I was like, let me dust this license
There you
off,
go.
see what it do.
It's right in the cut.
you
right
know,
there. That's what we got it for.
And so that's what I did. And we were like, okay, he had already found a house before I sort of came to this realization. So we had the house that we were rehabbing. And like I said, he's a project manager. So he's working on this house that we're going to flip. And I was like, I'm really leaning into this real estate thing. I found a mentor. And initially, I was just activating my license so that we could do some personal projects. But then I was like, I like helping people, like I like this, and so we talked it over and we came up with a plan. And at that moment, we sort of decided, okay, I'm going to leave my full-time job and, give this a go,
Okay. So you, at that point, you just stopped what you was doing and jumped right back into that head first after you decided to do the real estate thing with your husband. Where were you all at in that space in that time? Was he successful as what he were doing, or was it like we planned for this, or was it like just we're going to close our eyes and just pull the trigger type of thing?
It was a lot of transitions.
Okay.
He is very secure in his career as a project manager in construction. Like he can always get a job. Like he stays, busy with that, and then also. I was in a transition because I had the one baby that was born in 2019,
Right.
and then I was having this other baby in 2020. So my hands were full,
Right.
and it was almost sort of becoming impossible really to work a full-time job because his job is very demanding. So he leaves early in the morning,
Okay.
and a lot of time it's not back till late at night. So I was sort of trying to figure out, like, how can I do this?
Yeah.
It was actually almost becoming cost prohibitive for me to work practically, So we had a lot of conversation around it, and we did a lot of planning. I didn't jump head first.
Okay.
I connected with my real estate brokerage, and I had such a great support there that I felt confident that I can do this. So we
Okay.
put a plan together. I think we decided, I went to this conference. It was a real estate conference in June 2021.
Okay.
And it really kind of like changed my life because it forced me to think big, to dream big. So that when I went back to my husband, he went to the conference with me, by the way.
Okay.
He wasn't attending the conference, you know what I mean? Like, but
Just
he
to
was
go- he
there.
was
Like when I would
actually
come
just
back
there.
from my classes, I'm like, babe, this is what I learned. Listen to this. We can do this. We got to think big. And so that energy, you transfer that energy. So then we just got on the same page where
Okay.
that was concerned. And so, at that point, we put a plan together. I said, this is June. I want to save for 6 months, and then come January 2022, I want to go full time.
That's
real
the
estate.
important part. That's why I asked that question, because a lot of people, when we are making those transitions and we're pivoting, we don't show the plan behind it.
Yeah.
And it often looks like, oh, we just automatically start doing this, or we just jumped head first. And we may put it out there, or people may perceive it wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that. Did you have a plan, or was it like?
Yeah, no,
just
it's a lot of planning.
Right.
And I'm a risk taker, but I also can be somewhat risk averse. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like I like calculated risks. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of a calculated.
I like how you
risk
said that
taker.
too, Kim. I like calculated
Yeah.
risk.
So that's
Very
more. I would
strategic.
say that's more my lane. So
Yeah.
but my husband is a risk taker, and I
Okay.
love that about him because if we would say tomorrow, let's start a business, putting balloons together, he would have that business going tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I would spend 3 months
Trying
researching.
to plan it, but that's where that's why it balances out.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
having that's where it balances out, and that's good.
Yeah.
because you'll be the one to say, no, we got to pull back, babe. Let's plan it. He like, no, if we don't take this risk now, then it may not be here today or
Yes,
tomorrow.
yeah,
So no, that's good. That's dope. Shout out to hubby. Shout out to hubby.
Yes.
So let me dig in a little bit to Mom Lakeisha.
Yes.
To Mom Lakeisha. So how many children are still at home with you all right now?
3 that are in the house full time. I have a
Okay.
16-year-old, and then my 3-year-old and 5-year-old, and then my bonus daughter, who's 12. She comes back and forth with
Okay.
us. She
Okay.
goes back and forth to
So
her mom. So
how-
at any given time, it could be 4.
Okay. All right. And they are pretty young, fairly young ages. So how do you balance that time between mommy and then, of course, you have you keep your platform on Instagram going, and then you have the real estate thing going. Now, how do you balance that time with, okay, now it's time for me to be mommy versus all the other brands that you're building?
I don't balance it.
You don't?
I
Is it
don't
chaos?
balance it. No, it's not. I manage it.
Manage it. Okay.
I think, for me, it became frustrating to try to balance, right? Because I feel like balancing implies that these two things are equal. So that means that I'm always trying to say,
make this
okay,
up to
yeah.
right.
And the fact of the matter is, me chasing money is never equal to me
to the kids.
what I do for my family.
Right.
So I can't keep trying to balance these things.
Okay.
What I can do though is I can manage them. And so that's sort of what I had to lean into. How am I going to manage these things? How am I going to manage motherhood? And how am I going to manage my brands, my career,
Right.
being a wife, So that was like, I think the biggest thing for me to like sort of really come to grips with. And I did this exercise. I was working with a coach, and because I just felt like, where's all my time going? Where's my time going? I never have time.
Always tired.
Yeah.
They go by so fast.
Yeah, like where is my time is like money. It's just slipping through my
slipping through your
fingers,
fingers, right,
And so we
right.
did this exercise and it had me like put everything that I do into buckets. And what I realized is the buckets that were full were all my family, That's where all my time was going. And so then there was a little bit of time left for real estate and a little bit of time left for content creation. And so I had to figure out, how can I get a hold of this, And the realization was like, stop trying to make these things equal. Stop trying to make them equal.
That makes sense though.
You're going to have to get organized.
Yeah.
And figure out how to do both and just let go of the expectation that they are going to be equal, because they're not, because I'm going to choose my family and my husband every single time.
Yep.
And we're on the same page in that, because we've had to make some difficult decisions, and I say, okay, well, if we do X, Y, Z, you realize that's going to change the quality of life of our kids. And then he's like, okay, no, we don't want to do that then. So, knowing your partner and knowing really what goals you have for your family helps a lot, because then you can kind of stay on the same page when you have to make changes. And, okay, so if we change and we put the kids in daycare full time, you know what that means, right? Okay, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Let's do this instead,
Yeah. It's going to constantly change.
Exactly.
Like, it's going to require a different version of Lakeisha at each momentum that you reach. So yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
But that really makes a lot of sense, managing your time, because the balance is, like you said, is never going to be equal. And I'm going to start using that. So when you hear me saying manage, I'm like, I got that from my girl Lakeisha, because
do it
because it makes sense.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here, because it truly makes sense. And you have a team, right? A team that
I'm working on my team.
You're working on your team?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So I know that's going to probably help you manage it a lot more, because we rely on your husband is your team, obviously.
Yes.
Does any of the children play a part of your team?
No, I had an au pair that was for a year, and that's like a whole different conversation. But that helped me transition, right? That's what sort of helped me wrap my mind around the fact that, stop trying to balance it. There are some clear systems that you need to put in place at home to help you manage this. And so she was part of my team, but then my mom, we had to move my mom in.
Okay.
My mother-in-law. And so I no longer had that portion. So, I'm building my team in terms of my business, but I also need, I
The
need
support.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be more beneficial to not just when building a brand, but with raising the children. It's more beneficial to have people that they're familiar with around. From my understanding, and I feel more comfortable with having people in my team that I know, like my mom.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a few other people on this couch too, moms and dads and uncles and aunts. They're always a big part of the support system.
Yes,
as well,
absolutely.
too, so.
Yes.
But all right, so let's get into a little bit more of what you do on the real estate side.
Yes.
What is it that you actually do with real estate? So are you a real estate investor?
I am a real estate investor and also a real estate agent. I help people sell and buy homes.
Okay.
I also help my husband manage we have a home renovation and repair business. Yes.
Do
yes,
you?
yes,
I missed
yes,
that.
yes,
Okay.
Yes, yep.
So, nice.
So I manage that business in addition to my business as a real estate salesperson and my content creation business.
Okay.
As well.
How is that with content creating? Now that right there, I would imagine is like the biggest thing trying to manage, because now I've tried to do the content creation thing, and when I say it take hours sometimes, and then on top of the editing, like how do you even like format your mind or focus your mind on trying to do content creation? How did you get into that?
So I got into it because I was wanting to promote my real estate business.
Okay.
So when you're in real estate, you know, all the courses, all the conferences, they tell you need to do social media. You got to do social media. So that was like that's like being shoved down your throat practically, right? So I wrapped my mind around, I'm like, okay, I got to do social media. So I started being more intentional about posting and being more active on social media so that I could stay top of mind. And after a while of like sort of exclusively promoting real estate or, you know, producing real estate content, I kind of got bored, because it was like, this is my job. I don't want to talk about my job all the time.
Right.
I love my job, but there's a lot of other aspects of me that, I would rather.
You want the world to see. You want to show the world.
Create content around. That's more interesting. It's more fun, And so I kind of just started deciding, I'm just going to be more authentic and just kind of post what I'm doing. And it just sort of evolved from there, because what I realized is once I started sharing, women were like, oh gosh, I could relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's
that transparency.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they want to know more about starting over, how you do that, what that looks like at this age, and so I leaned into that.
Okay.
And that's sort of just my theme from now on. You got to lean into what you're good at and what feels good, because you're gonna get more energy to do more of that.
It builds that confidence.
Yeah,
it's like making a shot in basketball. If I'm throwing the ball up and I'm missing every shot, I'm not gonna want to throw it up again. But if it's something that's naturally and it's dropping, it's going to build that confidence. So,
So I sort of just began to lean into the creating content and found that okay, I can kind of do this, and it was intimidating at first because the content is so curated, and I would see people, I'm like, we don't have matching outfits, like we
it's intimidating. Like you see, oh my God, there's a lot of influencers. I'm like, the time put in to get the sneakers matching with the husband and the wife and the kids and the dog.
And they look good.
They look good doing it.
Good.
Right. So it's like, it's intimidating. That's why I give y'all.
It's very intimidating. But I had people in my corner that were sort of pushing me like, no, Lakeisha, you could do this, you should do it. And I was like, should I? And so when you have people that are pushing you and you listen to them and you realize, it's really yourself that's holding you back, And so I had a few people in my ear that were really encouraging me to see it through, and so I did, and I realized, I don't have to have matching outfits. It's nice and it looks good, and I love watching people that can do it. I don't have the bandwidth to do it,
I'm gonna do Lakeisha. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
I can only do what I can do,
right.
So, and that's
you've
really
seen that help your business out tremendously just by putting yourself out there.
It does, because it helps you to stay top of mind, and then people get to know you. It's that like, know, and trust factor,
Any regrets?
That I didn't start sooner.
That's the only regret? Nice.
that I didn't start sooner.
Nice.
You know, and I don't like to think about that because sometimes it makes me mad. Like, oh, if
Like,
I would
why
have
did I
just,
do this?
yeah,
Yeah.
if I wouldn't have waited, if
But
I
it's
would have
all
been
about
more
timing,
sure.
though.
It is.
It's all about timing. If you were presented with that, or if you would have started sooner, you probably wouldn't have had the same response that you got now.
And I couldn't
know?
have started sooner because my kids were tiny, and I was, girl, please. Nobody
Like,
wanted to see the
put a
mess
camera
that
in their
I was, right? Like, I
Truth
could,
be told, though, we do
realistically,
though.
I
We
couldn't
do want to
have
see that mess. That mess is what we getting them views. All them videos I watch, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is what y'all want to see. Like,
Yeah, right.
gracious.
Yeah,
Like,
we do low key love the mess.
Yeah. We all a little messy.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and I've always wanted to ask an influencer this because, especially in recent times, you heard about the U.S. banning TikTok or potentially banning TikTok. If that were to happen, well, I know are you on TikTok or that's not your platform?
I am, but that's not my platform.
Instagram is your platform.
Yeah.
If that were to happen with the Instagram or the Facebook, or we wake up tomorrow and it says there is no social media, what's the move? How do you pivot?
Oh, that's a great question. I think you have to be thinking about that now, right? Like you can't wait to that to happen. You have to get people off the platform now to where you can contact them, where you can, still send them your content, whether it's a newsletter or, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Go over to my website. So, I think that you have to diversify yourself. You can't just be in this one place. And really that's advice that I'm really giving to myself as well, because I should be on TikTok doing more, or YouTube or what have you. But, I'm on Instagram. That's where I am. You know what I mean?
Instagram be popping.
So, yeah.
But it just makes you think, like, we build and work so hard to build something for someone to just come and take it away with a blink of an eye or something.
But jobs do. I mean,
they do the same. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's
thing.
why it's like we're in the era of bet on yourself. So if you're not confident in yourself, you better get confident.
Absolutely.
You go to therapy, get a coach, whatever you need to do.
Get a coach. Yes. That's very important. I'm glad you said that, because everyone that sat on this couch so far has said the same thing. You need a coach. You absolutely need a coach. You cannot do it without any type of training. You can't learn. I mean, you can learn on your own, and once upon a time, we had to learn things on our own. But now there's so many resources out here that I feel like, especially for moms starting over, because I like to say that I started over too. I'm not 40 yet. I will be 40 soon. But there was a point in time I had to start over when I was at my lowest. And I didn't believe that I could start over until I did. So coaching was a big part of that. Therapy was a big part of that. So yeah, and
I wish I would have got that message sooner. Like when I went through, now I say, I really started over multiple times, right? Because I got divorced at 30.
Okay.
And I started over then.
Okay.
I had a catering company, and I was a single mother for 8 years, and then I sort of started over again when I met my husband, my current husband. So I like to say I'm the queen of reinvention. If you don't like something,
that's right.
Change it.
I know that's right.
I'm gonna change it, whether it's the paint color on the wall, whether it's hairstyle,
you have to.
whether it's a husband, honey, I'm gonna change it.
So so you mentioned that you were a single mother at one point. You were a single mother while you were in the catering industry.
Yes.
How was that?
It was hard. It was very, very hard. And that's sort of also why I say I've come to the realization that you make a choice, because I was trying to balance my catering business with being a single mom, and I did it for about 3 years. And then this job sort of just fell in my lap. And what I mean fell in my lap, like I didn't even have a resume prepared. Somebody just was like, hey, this position is open. I think you'd be a good fit. Do you want it? And, and so I took it, and I didn't plan to leave my catering business at that time, but what I found was like working this job was way easier than being an entrepreneur as a single mother.
The stress is not there of where's this next dollar going to come from, and I got to feed this little person. It's one thing if I got to feed myself. It's one thing if I got to, go get a one-room apartment for myself versus, taking care of these kids. It's a bigger weight on your shoulder when you have children.
It was.
It's a bigger weight.
That's why I was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. I'm getting a lot more work-life balance as a single mom working a job than being an entrepreneur.
What I love about your story is that your path is all over the place, right? But I love that. I love that because where you started from and where you are now, you've had, again, you pivot so many times, so many transitions. It sounds like you've been in every single industry. You did a lot, but it only goes to show that hustler spirit, I don't even like to say hustler, but that entrepreneur spirit is inside of you. You know, it's not going to stop because the catering company didn't work out. It's not going to stop because I had to, you know, put my real estate license to the side for a second. But that ownership, that wanting to own something has always been in you. And that's the beauty of your story. And that's where I think a lot of people misinterpret. I get this a lot. And it's the only reason why I bring it up, because people will see what I do. I started off as an author. Now I have a clothing line. Now I have a podcast. And acting has always been a true love of mine. I went to school, and one of my majors was theater arts. So I have a lot of things that I want to do and I like to do. And when something comes to me, I'm starting it, right? But they may say, oh, she's starting something else. Or she's always doing something. She's always doing this. Like, no, like whatever works, something's going to stick. Something's going to work. You know, and you have to follow everything that you want to do, every interest that you cannot just sleep on those type of things. So that's what I love about your story, because it's like, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to try something else.
Thank you.
That didn't work, I'm going to try something else. And now you're here. And if we find that you are running for the president of the United States in the next 10 years, I'm like, that's Lakeisha.
You wouldn't be surprised,
That's
right?
Lakeisha. Like, yeah. So I love that.
Thank you.
You
I
know,
appreciate
so
that.
and behind that message, the biggest takeaway is like, never give up on whatever it is that you want to do. Never give up on whatever it is you want to do.
Thank
and that's
you.
for y'all watching out there, y'all moms. Like, it's okay to change. It's okay to pivot.
Yes, you have to, and people don't lean into that, because I know, me personally, growing up, you start what you finish.
Yeah.
You know,
Girl.
you start what you finish. You know, and I had to get to a point in my life where I would say, you know, if that doesn't serve me, I'm quitting. I changed my mind.
Girl, yes.
I changed my mind. Oh, we were going to brunch today. Oh, I changed my mind.
I would change my mind in
You
a
know,
heartbeat.
so, and you have to be okay with changing your
Yeah.
mind. And most people's feelings will get hurt, and you have to be okay with that. You know what I mean? But
do you
it's
feel like
like you
people do it-
lead with love.
Right.
I find. You know, you lead with love. And
Right.
you have to bring people to, you know, where you are, and you meet them where they are, and they understand.
and
you know?
and understand that it's okay to not meet their expectations as long as you're meeting your own.
That
As long as you're meeting your own. And I feel like people want to fulfill those things just for the look of it too. You know, because failing is not always failing. Failing is not always a bad thing. It's like, okay, if this is not working, I'd be stupid if I stay in it if it's not working. And that's what
and
we
you
have to-
learn too. Sometimes, you know, failing is not failing, it's learning. You know, I don't ever look at anything as like, okay, I failed at that. Well, I learned from that, you know. And it's funny that you say that about, you know, you kind of never know what I'm going to do. When I was approaching choosing my handle for my Instagram, you know, originally it was listed with Lakeisha, and when I was talking with another creator and, you know, deciding that I wanted to go into a broader brand that would include my family and all of that, and I was, you know, the very conversation that we had was, you know, I don't want to be pigeonholed into just doing real estate.
Right.
Because I've changed my mind and do other things in
Right.
addition to
But
real
now
estate.
you're going to build
you
this
know?
thing for
Yeah,
real
yeah,
estate.
yeah,
Now you got to
yeah,
start all
yes,
over because they're
yes,
expecting
yes.
real estate. You're right.
But I love real estate, and, you know, I am just, you know, like I said, I've had my license since 2007, so I definitely have a passion for it. And then, you know, my husband's passion for it, so we come together, and that's definitely something that we love to do together. But I also love that I have living with the Wiggins, because I can talk about other things that I'm interested in, you know.
So what do you feel as though has been the biggest bump in the road when getting to where you are? What was your biggest setback, and how was that moment for you? Like, take me through your biggest setback. What was that?
Ooh, my biggest setback. I would say my biggest setback was probably my second year as an entrepreneur, when the interest rates went up so crazy. And
What year was that?
This was the beginning of 2023.
Okay.
So my first year of real estate was super duper easy, right? Like I didn't have a problem selling homes and getting clients my first year. And then my second year, once interest rates changed and the market shifted, I faced challenges, you know, and I had to really sort of dig deep and figure out why was I, you know, facing some of these challenges. And what I found was I wasn't disciplined. You know,
What does that mean? What does it mean you weren't
I
disciplined?
wasn't disciplined. Like I had all the tools. Like I knew that should be time blocking. I had these automations and all the, I had all the tools that I needed to run my business, but I wasn't disciplined enough to manage them. You know what I mean? I didn't have this discipline to, this is the best way I can put it. People will say, work your business like it's your job. Well, I was working my business like it was my job, but what I realized is I didn't have to work hard at my job. I didn't work hard at my job. I didn't have to be the accountant at my job.
Right.
I didn't have to be the marketing
in the business,
person.
You have to be every single thing. You're like, okay.
So I was in this worker mindset of working my business like it's my job, but that was not right. Like I can't work my business like my job. I just showed up at my job.
Yeah, they had everything. It was a machine. I just pressed the button.
I literally just showed up and was like, okay, let me do my job for the day, and then I went home. Entrepreneurship, and even though this was my second round at entrepreneurship, I was not the wife and mother that I am now.
Right.
As a single, yes, I was in a
Right.
different space.
Right.
I had my one little baby, and she would go, to her dad's, and I would have all this me time to work on my business. And it was a totally different mindset. So that ended up being a big setback for me because I had to work through that and really figure out what my challenge was. Because like I said, I had a great support system in terms of real estate, but I'm like, okay, I got all this support, and they're telling me to do all these things, but what's happening? Something isn't clicking. And what I realized is as I wasn't, I need to be more disciplined. And
what was the turning point? Because, you said that was in 23. We're in 24. So are you still in that turning point phase?
No, that was at the beginning of 2023. Okay. Yeah.
So what was the turning point? So you
Well, I went to therapy, and that's sort of how I uncovered that I had some limiting beliefs that were sort of holding me back. I was judging myself. And also habits. I had bad habits, and I'm not talking about like being a drunk. I just had bad daily habits,
scrolling on Instagram, watching. That's a daily habit that's bad for me. Binge watching movies, things we don't even realize that are habits that's hindering us from really focusing on our business.
Yes. Yeah. So I had to do some work on habit reformation. And that helped me a lot. So nice. So what's next for you? Oh, continuing to build my brand. I'm in the process of trademarking. Did somebody say real estate? So I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Trademarking is a big, you would not realize how many people don't have their logo trademark, their name trademark. It's a big deal nowadays, especially like me being here in Atlanta. Like I'm seeing the importance of it because I was one of those people, and that's why I'm saying that. But recently getting into filing for all the trademarks for everything, like it's very important. People are stealing and scamming everything, using your name for everything. And I'm coming to get my coins if you use any of my anything.
That part, yes.
So no, that's dope. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So that's really it's one of the big things that's on my agenda right now is just continuing to build my brand, and I'm super excited about that. I started that last year, so we'll be at the end of the process of that probably by the end of the summer.
Dope.
So
So what about, so as you're building your brands, how is it really affecting your children, or is it affecting your children? Because you've incorporated them in a bulk of who Living with the Wiggins is, right? So is it affecting them? Do they get, and I'm sure they get attention, do they have their own separate spaces or their own separate platforms? Or how is it affecting them with school, and they're seeing, like their friends are seeing them on all these viral videos? Like, how is it affecting them?
So my daughter, my 16-year-old, she takes it in stride, honestly. She's so good. I can't even say anything, she laughs about it. She's telling me, Mommy, somebody came up to me at school, they saw your video again,
She's never embarrassed though, right?
No, she's never embarrassed. She's never embarrassed, luckily. She'd be like, Mommy, she does kind of say like, Mommy, they just, that video, people keep texting me about the video, or people, but it's always something, like the videos are always like so lighthearted,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and so it's never like anything to be embarrassed about.
Right.
So, and then the little girls, the little kids, they love it. They don't know anything about going viral, but they just like doing the videos. Like, Mommy,
Okay.
can we do a video? Can we do it? Like, they asked to do it.
They're enjoying the moment.
They're
right
enjoying
now.
the moment. Like, my 5-year-old told me last night or yesterday we were at Costco, and she says, you know, Mommy, if you should post this on YouTube because you can make a lot of money. Like, who have you been talking to? But they like watching YouTube, you know. So
that's the thing. I was just
yeah.
talking to my assistant Sue about that. She was saying how YouTube has replaced television.
Yes.
Replaced television, and she's enlightening me on these kid shows now on YouTube. I'm like, oh,
it's a lot of
knew.
and I have like tried to fight it, you know, but it's like, oh, okay, they want to watch. This is, you know, you have to adjust to the times, and some of the stuff they watch on there, it's not bad.
It's hard though, because my children, they have well, they don't have YouTube accounts, but they look at YouTube through my account, obviously. But it's hard to kind of monitor what comes on. Like it. And that's my scare, because the internet, you can find anything. TV, you can control it a little bit more, but the internet, like, I'll tell her, you're supposed to be watching, she loves Darman. I don't know if you heard of Darman. She loves Darman, or whatever she's supposed to be watching is kid friendly. But then I'll come back downstairs and then I'll hear, F you. I'm like, what in the world is that? Like, turn it off. You're not supposed to be watching that. And they put TikTok on YouTube now, so they're just looking at the TikTok videos through YouTube, and they're like back to back, and I'm just like, no. So it's very hard to kind of filter it out, because if it's a kid's YouTube channel, they can't see regular kid shows, right? So it's hard. It is a new day and age for us moms that are in the 40, well, almost 40. I'm almost 40, so.
It's just a different generation. It's a different time. And I experienced that too, you know, because we start out watching Gracie's Corner, and then next thing you know, there's some show on and somebody's pregnant, and you're using the word pregnant. And I'm like, hold on, what?
Like, I even teach my kids this.
Yes, like, what is going on? So yes, you do have to monitor. And I try to just keep them close by, you know, so that way when Gracie's Corner goes off or whatever kid show they're watching, I can say, okay, enough of that, you know. So yeah, I get that totally.
So as far as, so you and your husband, y'all have the blended family. And I really think it's important to touch on this as well. When you are starting over and you have children and you have a business, luckily your husband, like, it seemed like you guys were like the perfect match. But in some instances, you may meet a guy, or mom may meet a guy that they're not used to that entrepreneurial, you know, mindset. They're not used to that lifestyle, or they're not used to what you want to do, or they're just the corporate worker, which is fine. But how do you adjust to that blended family? How do you adjust to dating with children? Let's start there, and starting over, but then adjusting to this new lifestyle.
So dating, the way I approached it was I just had to sort of get in this mindset of every person I date is not going to be my husband. Yeah. And every person I date, I don't have to I don't have to act like my child is this precious porcelain doll on a pedestal and she can't meet a person that I'm dating, you know, because ultimately she's number one. Yeah. So I can't date you for 6 months and then decide to date.
If y'all don't get along, then it's like I just wasted 6 months of my life.
Exactly. And so I think a lot of women get into this whole, I don't want to have a lot of men around my kid. Da, da, da. Well, what are you doing around them that you have that concern? Because you should be able to have a male friend, you know,
in general, right? Because you're gonna, it's like having a coworker at work, or if you're at school and you see another parent, but it's happened to be a male, you're like, hey, that's all it, right?
You know, and so that's sort of how I approached it, because I kind of want to know immediately if you have energy, you know, that will be compatible with my child. And so that's, so once I kind of got to that mindset, it helped me a lot, because initially I did have that porcelain doll attitude. Like, okay, you can't meet my child. You know, I got to get to know you first. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You're not dating serial killers, you know? Like, what are you doing?
He passed the screening process.